Good morning. Welcome to the Health and Wellness Program. You're listening to Maree Gifkins. And today I thought we would discuss our emotions and our feelings and all those wonderful things that make us human. And it's troublesome at times and it's hard going at times. But I tell you what, we wouldn't want to be without them, because what are we without our emotions and our feelings and our sadness and our happiness? We're just kind of like robots, and we're stiff and we're tight and we're no expressions, and we're never attracted to anybody who's like that. We're always attracted to the people who are waving their arms around and they're happy and they're smiling, and or else we're attracted to the ones that are grumpy and angry and yelling at us, and we're like want to argue back. So the emotions have a lot to play in our world, and it is what makes us human. So we can't get away without it. We always have emotions going on. We've had quite a bit going on in the last few months, and the world is going through a lot of emotional stuff as well. And sometimes the hard times really can get us down a bit, and we find it hard to get up, get going, get cracking, get on, try and put a smile on our face. Or situations change in our life and we have sadness, maybe a loss of a loved one, or we lost our jobs, or maybe a family pet has passed away. I have a cat, Bubba, her name is, and she's 20. She's 20 and a half now. So she's a very old lady, and she still jumps up on the chair and she's still purring, and so she's keeping very well at this stage, but I know at any moment it could all just change. And the cat's been in our lives for 20 years, so that's a lot of memories. She's been around for a lot of things, and I know that day will be very sad for me, and that's what you expect, to have sadness and then the loss, and you don't realise how much these animals affect us until they're gone, and you miss their company just around you. They have quite a big impact on us. And of course, other things we might have, I don't know, there's so many things that can happen in the world. So I thought I would discuss about the Bach Flowers with you. You may not have heard of them, you may have heard of them, but don't know much about them. So I liken them to, it's that transition between you're not quite right, but you're not serious enough to go to the doctor and request things like antidepressants. But we need something to help us come back on the right track again. And that's where the Bach Flowers come into play. So as you can imagine with the name, the flower, it comes from the flowers of the plants. So it's natural, there's not the side effects, you can't get addicted to them. How easy is that, eh? They're not expensive. So how simple is this? Is it too simple? Too good to be true? When I first started to look at the Bach Flowers, how old is my son? He's 32, so he was only 5, so 27 years ago. I had heard about the Bach Flowers. I was just a mum there. I wasn't trained or anything. And I'd heard about these Bach Flowers and how they work for the emotions, but that was all I knew about it. And my son was 5, going to school, and we had a swimming pool at home, a nice salt pool. We'd been out the river camping and swimming and fishing, and so he was quite used to water, and he'd never had an accident, he'd never had a drowning or anything, and all of a sudden he kind of just didn't want to get in the water. He certainly didn't want to put his head underwater anymore, and I couldn't work it out, and I couldn't work out what he was afraid of and why all of a sudden there was this change in him, and didn't want to take his togs to school. And I remembered hearing about these Bach Flowers, so I went to the local health shop then, and Linda's health shop it was, in Storford Lodge, and I went and talked to the person there and said about the situation with my son, and they said, oh look, Bach Flowers, yes, now there's 2 Bach Flowers for fear. So she started to tell me there was the aspen one, which is fear of the unknown things, and then there was the mimulus, which was fear of known things. So if you know what you're afraid of, then you take the mimulus, but if you don't know what you're afraid of, like you're afraid of the dark or something that you can't quite work out, then you take the aspen. So she made up the Bach flower for me in a dropper bottle, and took it home. And of course, he's only 5, so you're not going to tell a 5-year-old, oh, this is for your emotions and this is for the fear that you have. You don't have to say anything to them. And so he just opened his mouth because he was sort of used to mum just putting things in his mouth. And so I found by the second day he was more than happy to go in the bath. And by the third day, I think we were taking 2 drops twice a day. So it wasn't even a lot. And by the third day, he was actually in the bath putting his head underwater. I couldn't believe it had worked so fast and so easily, and I hadn't told him anything. So, there was no, maybe it was just a luck of the draw, or it was the effect of me telling him, because I hadn't told him what it was for. So it just blew me away that there was these simple things, and effective, and not very dear, that would just take that pressure off. So I was sucked into the Bach Flowers, as simple as that. I'd seen it with my own 2 eyes with my children. So then I started to learn more and more about them, and of course when I started to become a naturopath, you study them, and then it was like I have to get a set for myself. So what I thought I would do today is just run through them all. There's actually 38 of them, so for all sorts of things with your emotions. And there's also the rescue remedy, and probably the rescue remedy is the one that most people sort of know about. They call it the 5 flowers now, but the rescue remedy, you can imagine it's for rescuing. Like you've loss of a loved one, been in a car accident, shocking news, maybe someone's not well. So when you need that rescue, that coming back down, that's where the rescue remedy is very good. Okay, so the 38 other ones, I thought we'd go through them. So if you have got a pen and paper and want to write it down, by all means, when you may want to go to a health shop and get them to make up a bottle for you. So you can actually have up to 7 in a bottle. So it's not just you have to, if you've got 3 different things going on, you have to have 3 different bottles. You can actually have up to 7. It pays not to double up on things, like I was saying before, that there's 2 for fear. You wouldn't put both of them in unless there's like 2 different situations going on. So there are some that are very similar but slightly different, so you sort of have to work out to just do one, otherwise you have a double up. And then, anyway, so we'll carry on. And so the first one we have on the list is Agrimony, Agrimony, and it's mental torture behind a cheerful face. So if you're a person that hides your feelings and you've really got mental torture going on there, then that's the one for you to make you feel a little bit better. Aspen, as we talked about, fear of unknown things. So that just helps bring everything down, and so you can calm down and carry on with things. So these Bach flowers work within 2 to 3 days, so it's not like you have to wait weeks for them to work. And I don't know of any, I've never heard of any reactions with medications with these either. Maybe if your blood pressure is really high and you took some and your stress levels have come down, maybe the blood pressure might come down a little bit, but I've never struck it in 25 years. But the person certainly does feel better and a little bit more relaxed. So there is a possibility, it's just I haven't struck that myself. Beech is intolerance. So if your tolerance level isn't very good, then the beech is very good for you to take. Centaurea is the inability to say no. So if you can't say no and you're saying yes all the time, and even when you mean no, then Centaurea is the one that you need to take. Certo is a lack of trust in one's own decisions. So if you're always doubting yourself, then that would be a good one for you. Cherry plum, fear of the mind giving way. And that's when we're under a lot of stress and we're afraid our mind's going to give in or give way and we can't take it anymore. Then the cherry plum will support that. and help you cope that little bit better and carry on. Yeah, carry on. We're Kiwis, aren't we? Chestnut bud, failure to learn from mistakes. Now that's quite a common one with people. A lot of people don't learn from their mistakes, and they repeat it again and again. As we go through, you're going to think of somebody you know that's just got that problem. And it's like, they need that one. So chicory is selfish, possessive love. Clematis is dreaming of the future without working in the present. Crabapple, the cleansing remedy, also for self-hatred. So if you don't like yourself, you don't like the way you are or the way you look or anything about yourself, then crabapple is a very good one to bring those feelings down. Because there's nothing worse than looking in the mirror and not being happy with yourself. That dissatisfied, don't like myself, no one else will like me. Then the crabapple is very good for just taking that pressure off and able to look in the mirror and go, okay, today's another day. Elm is very good for feeling overwhelmed by responsibilities or anything else that you're feeling over. You could even be feeling overwhelmed with what's happening in the world today. I think we all need it. Hey, let's punch it through the 5G network. That'd be pretty cool. I wonder if we can do things like that. Gentian is discouragement after a setback. Gorse is helplessness and despair. Heather is self-centeredness and self-concern. So I guess that's a person that's it's all about themselves and can't see about others' misfortune or so forth. So that's Heather. Holly is an interesting one. That's for hatred, envy and jealousy. So Holly would bring that hatred feeling or that anger, that envy, the jealous down. So if you're really over the top with things, then that Holly would be ideal to just bring that down so that you can look at the love in the world and love in around you. Honeysuckle, living in the past. That's quite a common one too. You know, people live in the past and always thinking about the past and can't look forward to the future. It's honeysuckle. Hornbeam, procrastinating, tiredness at the thought of doing something. Yep. Impatience is for impatiency. Larch is lack of confidence. They're very interesting, aren't they? Mamulus is fear of the known things. So if you're afraid of the dark, afraid of the dog, then that's the one for you. Mustard is deep gloom for no reason. Yeah. Oak, the plonder who keeps going past the point of exhaustion. Olive, exhaustion following mental or physical effort. So olive is quite a common one that I quite often will put in a bottle for people, especially if there's mental exhaustion going on. They've had hard times going on and it's going on and on and on. You get quite fatigued in your mind. So olive is very good for that one. Pine is for guilt. If you're not letting go and you can't get over a guilt feeling. Red chestnut, over concern for the welfare of loved ones. Oh, that would be a mother with her hens, with her baby chicks around. If you're just going over the top, you know, we need to look after our children, but if you're going over the top, then that red chestnut might be the one that the person needs. Rock rose is for terror and fright. So that one's quite good for dreaming, bad dreams in the night, nightmares, terror, and you wake up with a startle and your heart's pumping. Then the rock rose you can take in the middle of the night. It's just 4 drops under the tongue. And you can take these every 10 minutes when you're in shock or you're trying to come back down from a situation. Otherwise, you're taking the 4 drops 4 times a day. And of course, after 2-3 days, and it's starting to kick in and that pressure is starting to come down. but you can take it every 10 minutes if need be. Rock water is self-denial, rigid and self-repression. Scleranthus, is it? Scleranthus. Inability to choose between alternatives. So that's quite a good one when you've got two choices and you're not sure whether to take this path or that path or this job or that job, and you're all confused. Then that's a really good one for helping you make that decision. Star of Bethlehem is for shock. So any shock that's going on in your life, the Star of Bethlehem, that's one of the ones that are in the 5 flowers, the rescue remedy one we were talking about as well. Sweet chestnut, extreme mental anguish, when everything has been tried and there's no light left. So the sweet chestnut is very good for that mental anguish. Vervain is over enthusiasm. You got too much of the good stuff going on and you're a bit over the top. Vine is dominance and inflexibility. Now these can sometimes be helpful in the body as well. So if you're a person that's quite tight and you're not very flexible, then that vine is quite good to help soften you up and get you a little bit more flexible. Walnut, that's a very popular one with most people. It's protection from change and unwanted influences. But the walnut is also very good for any changes that are happening in your life. For instance, if you are changing house, changing religion, changing schools, going through, even my phone agreed, or going through changes like puberty, menopause, any kind of changes, the walnut is very good. I remember taking the walnut at the beginning of lockdown because it was like quite overwhelming. 1 minute you're at work and the next minute you're at home and like, what do you do? So it was like the walnut helped me go through that transition of, okay, I just need to set a new routine now. And water violet, pride and aloofness. White chestnut, this is a very big popular one as well. White chestnut is for unwanted thoughts and mental arguments. That's like when your mind's going round and around and around in a circle and you can't let go of something, like a hamster in a wheel, you know, and how we have these things going on in our mind and it just goes around and then it comes back again and we go through the whole situation again, whether it's an argument or a situation or how we lost our job or whatever it was, and it's going round and round and you can't let it go and you can't get on with your life. Then the white chestnut is excellent to just help bring those thoughts back down to a balance and be able to move on with things. Wild oak, uncertainty over one's direction in life. Well, there'd be a few people around at the moment with that one. So wild oak for uncertainty over one's direction in life. Wild rose, drifting and apathy. And willow is self-pity and resentment. So that is the 38. So we've gone through them. So they're your Bach flowers. So they're very good, very easy, very gentle. You can't get addicted to them. They're made up very easily. You can write a list down. You can go into one of the health shops. I did ring Health 2000 in Cornucopia before I came and made sure that I'm not telling tales, but they stock them and can make a bottle up for you. I also have them in my clinic as well. And so I can make them up and we can discuss them if you're not too sure which ones, and make up the bottle and away you go. So the Bach flowers are very easy for the emotions and you're not getting addicted to it. Quite often you only need the one bottle and you're good to go. And maybe in 3 months' time, 4 months' time, you might look at them again and you'll need different things. So that's nice and easy, and they're not very expensive. I think I sell a bottle for $15, so they're not dear. I'm not too sure what they are in the health shop, but I can't imagine them to be very dear at all. So very good. I've had people that have come in and they're beside themselves, you know, they've just maybe going through a divorce, separation, and they're going through a hard time, and I'll suggest the Bach Flowers to just help take that pressure off, and they're able to think a little bit clearer. Or somebody's been in an accident and they're still in shock. You know, I've even seen people 4 years later and they tell me about an accident they've been in, and you can see it in their face, and their voice changes, and it goes back to that shock, that accident that they were in. They can see everything, and they're still locked in that shock. And so I'll suggest the Bach Flowers to just help calm that down. So there's lots of different variations. Children with nightmares, they're very good because they're very easy and simple to use. So if you're wanting to contact me or find out where I am in Hastings in Waipakarau. And in Hastings, my clinic is 201 King Street North, and that's right at the back of Countdown in the Last Palms building. And when you come in through the door, you turn left and first left, so it's nice and easy. And I also have a clinic in Waipakarau, 222 Porongahau Road. And so in Waipakarau on there Mondays and Fridays, and in Hastings Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and about 9 till 6. And my phone number, you might need that, is 0272 495090. So I thought I'd also talk about the Oxy Detox that I have. Now the Oxy Detox is actually a machine that's a steam sauna machine that you hop into, and you sit in there, and then the lid comes down, but your head's out. Your head is exposed out. It's not inside the machine. And then the steam starts up, and so it's a sealed compartment. And the steam, you're in there for about 30 minutes, and so you're starting to get warm. The temperature can go to whatever is appropriate for you. And you start to warm up, and pores start to open, you start to sweat, and you start to do that detox. So we know that steam saunas, they've been around the world in different cultures for thousands of years, and we know there's lots of benefits. It's good for the skin, it's good for cold days like this when we're getting bone cold. We haven't got the snow on the mountains yet, so we haven't got that real cold wind coming through us, not like we know will come. I'm sure it will come. It always does. And so the steam sauna is ideal, but what's even better about it is that after 5 minutes of being in there, I start up the ozone machine, and the ozone is pumped in for 20 minutes. And ozone is oxygen on steroids. So if you can imagine how good oxygen is for you, then double it. So the oxygen is 2 molecules of oxygen, and ozone is 3. So when we get the ozone in and our pores are open, the ozone can actually go through the open pores into the blood, and that then moves around the body, killing viruses, oh yay, bacteria, mold, parasites, all the things that we don't really want a lot in our body. And it helps go into the muscles, and that helps untangle them, so very good for sports injuries. You know, if you've got an injury and it's not repairing very quickly, you get in with the ozone, and that just speeds up the recovery. Or you've been out in a big run or on the bike and your muscles are aching. It's very good to get that oxygen into all the muscles, release it, and boom, away you go. I have a lady that comes in after she's been to the gym, one of the sessions, and she does it on a Saturday morning, goes to the gym, then she comes into the ozone machine and goes in there, and then she knows she's ready for the weekend to do whatever she wants. So it's as quick as that. She can come in achy and a bit sore and then walk out feeling so much better. And so the Oxy Detox is extremely good for all these detoxing. Also the chemicals that we are breathing in, we're ingesting, you know, we've got all our, what do we got? Herbicides, we've got pesticides, we've got fungicides, we've got denticides, all these sides, too many sides for us. You know, we're having to deal with all these chemicals and sprays, and, you know, and there's so much more cars on the road with all their pollutants we're breathing in, not to mention all the stuff that's in the carpets and drapes and on our clothes. You know, you do know that you have to wash your clothes when you buy them because they are sprayed with herbicides and pesticides, mainly herbicides I think it is, because they don't want moths to eat the clothes before they even get to the shop. So when you buy your clothes, don't put them on straight away and wear them, especially with the skin. You've got to wash them and get all that sort of stuff out before you start wearing it and having it beside your skin, because your skin will absorb these things. So the Oxy Detox is just, it's wonderful. There's not too many in New Zealand yet. There might only be about 12 or 14. So we've got one here in Hastings, and I've also got one in Waipakarau. I was so impressed with the one, I decided to get another one because we need these strong things to help us get well very fast, as quick as we can, and get us back on track again and get us living life to our fullest. So if you'd like to, the Oxy Detox is $85 a treatment, but we have some good specials running at the moment. If you'd like to talk to me about anything we've discussed today, give us a ring on 0272 495090. Thank you.